So welcome to the channel. In this video we are going to start the subject manufacturing engineering, and at first we are going to discuss about welding process. So in this video we are going to discuss about the introduction part of welding. Welding is a manufacturing process of joining metals, joining similar or dissimilar metals by melting the base metal. Okay, that is the one important fact about welding, is that while joining we have to melt the base metal. That means the temperature should be always more than the melting temperature of the metal. Then when we talk about fabrication process of joining metals, then there are other two processes are also there. One is called brazing, the other one is called soldering. Okay, all these three are joining processes, but the difference occurs in terms of melting and the temperature difference. While as I told you in the first slide only, that in case of welding, the base metal is melted, the temperature of operation is always more than the melting temperature of the joining metals. But in case of brazing and soldering, the temperature is not up to the melting point but below it, and in case of soldering it is much less than that point. Okay, the difference between soldering and brazing is the temperature is 450 degrees centigrade. That is the borderline temperature that differentiates between brazing and soldering. In case of soldering it is less than 450 degrees centigrade, and in case of brazing it is more than 450 degrees centigrade. As you can see in the slide, in this first figure, it is soldering process. This process we must have seen while applying to electronic circuits. Okay, as we can see that in case of soldering, the joining parts are not melted. Okay, so in this second image, as you can see, the brazing is applied to join some pipes, and in that case also we cannot melt the pipe, so it should be always less than the melting point of the pipes. So that's why this process has to be applied there. And in case of welding, the temperature is always more than the melting temperature. Okay, so these are few important facts. You can take a screenshot if you think you need it. Then these are the various welding processes that we are going to discuss one by one in the upcoming videos. There are mainly four categories of welding processes. The first one is gas welding, where a gas, mainly oxygen and acetylene, then oxygen hydrogen is also used for creating the temperature which is required to melt the metal. Okay, then second category is arc welding. In arc welding, an arc is produced between cathode and anode. Okay, so in that case we have to use current like AC, DC, both we can use. Both have its own advantages and disadvantages. Then in case of resistance welding, that means force is applied to join the metals. Okay, in that case also they are depending upon the welding joint type. It is spot welding, seam welding, projection welding, and flash bath welding. Then there are other types of modern methods of welding. In that cases we have to use some modern methods to join the process. In the fourth category is generally more advantageous and efficient, but also costly compared to the other processes. All these processes we are going to go through one by one. Okay, so I request all of you to subscribe to the channel so that you get good knowledge and concept about welding process, also upcoming other manufacturing topics. Then along with welding, there are some parallel processes like cutting process. So why it is discussed in this along with welding is that the method is same. Okay, methods are same. Here, as you can see here, the first gas cutting, arc cutting, electron beam cutting, laser beam cutting. So these methods, gas, arc, electron beam, these are also applied to welding also. But in case of welding, the joining is done. In case of cutting, the metals are separated from each other, or from the same metal we use separate them to our desired shape and dimension. Okay, so in gas cutting, gas is used, mainly oxygen acetylene gas is used. Then in case of arc cutting, arc is used, electric arc, which is generated with the help of electrode and cathodes and anode. Then electron beam is used, and laser beam is used for cutting the metals to our desired shape. Okay, these processes also we will discuss along with the simultaneous welding process. Then these are some welding joints. Okay, depending upon the requirement, butt joint is done parallelly, lap joint is done placing one metal sheet over the other one. Then corner joint, T joint, these are done at an angle of 90 degree. Then edge joint is also done where it is applicable. Okay, where whatever the situation is requires, depending upon that we can use different types of joints. Then there are some types of butt joints over here. As you can see, there are single, double and straight. So this actually depends upon the thickness of the metals to be joined. Generally, if the thickness is less than 6 mm, then straight butt joint is used, where there is no curvature is given, or whether it is V or U. Then in case of single V, up to 6 to 12 mm generally. In case of arc welding, basically 6 to 12 millimeter thickness, single V or single U joint is used. Then if the thickness is more than around 12 mm, then we have to apply double V or double U joint for better strength. And in case of double V joint compared to double U joint, the material, the filler material required for the welding joint is more in case of double V compared to double U. Okay, but if we can get the same strength or sufficient strength from W also, so W is preferred. But if the W is not giving us the required strength, then we have to apply double V. In case of double V, the filler material will be more, so cost will be little bit more than compared to our double U joint. Alright, so these are the few basic things to introduce you to the welding process. Then, as I told you already, that in upcoming videos we are going to discuss all welding processes one by one, also the cutting processes. So if you have any request or feedback to give, then you can use this number. So see you in next video.